Once again, my name is Bert, and I'm the director of MedQCare platform, a consumer platform that's dedicated to bringing the latest medical and biopharmaceutical information to the general public. I think the key question on your minds is, why Asia? Here are some statistics that can help you better understand the Asian biotech and pharmaceutical market. First of all, future potential. 60% of the global population currently resides in Asia. That's 60% of the global population. However, currently Asian countries spend on average only 6% of GDP on healthcare. That is really low compared to the 17% in the United States and the almost 18% of GDP in Europe. So you can see that there's a lot of room for growth, almost 3 times or so, especially considering that the GDP of US and Europe are comparable to Asia. Thirdly, in terms of listed biotech companies, Asian listed biotech companies currently make up only 28% of global revenue. Now, considering that they're servicing 60% of the global population, that's a really big gap. But these, you might say, are in terms of future potential, so you're not sure if they can be realized in future. Well, if we look at current growth projections for the Asian biotech and pharma markets, we can see that there's 16.8% projected annual growth for 2021 to 2028. That's 16.8%. In addition, it's expected that by 2026, the projected market for APIs or active pharmaceutical ingredients in Asia is going to be $57.5 billion US dollars. That's quite a lot. In addition to that, there are now currently a lot of strong incentives proposed by different governments in Asia. For example, there are incentives for investment, tax, and research and development. In addition to that, there are also a variety of bioparks with new facilities and offices and lots of available lab space and office space for you to set up your company. Thirdly, the capital markets in Asia are quite welcoming of biotech and pharmaceutical companies, and valuations are getting better and better by the year. So this is the global biotechnology market growth forecast for 2017 to 2029. And you can see that Asia Pacific is this darker blue color here under North America and Europe. So we can see that North America has a very large share of the global biotechnology market, almost half, and it will continue to maintain this premier position well into 2029. However, you can see that during the same period of time, growth in the Asia Pacific biotechnology markets is quite high. As we mentioned earlier, it's 16.8% annual growth, which means that the market is expected to double every 6 to 7 years. By contrast, Europe is quite a mature biotechnology market, and the rate of growth is not really that high over these years. As for other areas such as Latin America and the Middle East and Africa, there are growth opportunities as well, but none of them are as large or have as much future potential as Asia. So now that we've discussed these and you understand the future growth potential of Asia, we come to the next question, which is, what opportunities are available? Well, this is a very busy slide, but it basically showcases the outline of the Asian biotech and pharma value chain. So we can basically divide this into 4 main sectors. On the top left sector, you can see the biotechnology research and development, which comprises universities, academia, research institutions, as well as small and middle to large biotech and pharmaceutical companies. Now, these companies need a lot of support in terms of reagents, in terms of facilities, equipment, and also technical support as well. So there are a lot of opportunities there. Now, if you look to the top right side, you can see raw materials. As we have seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, the shortage of raw materials for vaccines, for face masks, for testing reagents has often limited the rollout of these important life-saving devices. And as the Asian market continues to mature, considering that it has 60% of the global population, it is safe to assume that current supply chains are really underserving this huge market. So in future, the need for raw materials and need for a robust supply chain to support the developing biotech and pharma industries and markets is going to be a key part of the Asian biotech story. Now, if you look at bottom left, you can see logistics and sales. Asia is a very large place. From north to south, it spans almost half the entire globe and almost as wide east to west as well. So to cover this large space, logistics will be needed, especially as there's likely to be different types of hubs located in different areas. For example, there might be manufacturing hubs, there might be R&D hubs, and all of them will need to interact with each other and provide the necessary raw materials and goods on a just-in-time basis. We have seen recently how logistics have hampered the global supply chain and affected our lives from the food that we eat to the materials that we use and even the cars that we drive. For biotech and pharma, the situation is no different. They will need a robust supply chain and strong logistics to be able to move the necessary materials around and achieve efficient production and delivery. Now let us look at the final lower right sector. The lower right sector concerns biomedical manufacturing. For example, as mentioned by Manager Lee, CDMO is becoming a very important topic here in Taiwan, and there's a very strong CDMO industry in South Korea and Japan as well. So in future, a lot of the biotech and pharmaceutical materials, ingredients, reagents, and products that the Asian market will use will be manufactured in Asia, not be supplied from other areas. In order to meet the demand of the markets, there needs to be a robust manufacturing pipeline that can bring together the aforementioned raw materials and use strong logistics to get their products out. So basically, this map summarizes the Asian value chain that can be used to supply the Asian biotech and pharma markets in the coming years, and this is where most of the opportunity lies. So how can we access these opportunities? There are some important engagement opportunities and strategies here. For example, first, sale leasebacks and disposals. There are a lot of old Asian pharmaceutical companies that are keen to conduct sale leasebacks or dispose of assets to improve their balance sheets and to get the necessary cash flow to move into new areas. In addition, a lot of companies are seeking asset conversion so that they can reposition their aged properties and facilities and turn them into cutting-edge research laboratories or cold storage supplies to support the next generation of pharmaceuticals. Besides this, as we mentioned before, governments in Asia have a lot of incentives and new bioparks available to support interested startups and foreign investment. And therefore, public-private partnerships are a really good way for you to test the Asian market on a relatively low-cost basis. Usually, these public-private partnerships target development opportunities in, as we mentioned before, newly planned science parks, and they often take the form of government partnerships or academic partnerships. In addition, land tenders can be available in some countries as well. Apart from this, with the rise of new science parks and the demand for new and more cutting-edge facilities, asset development is also quite important. And for the local pharmaceutical companies and developing biotech companies, built-to-suit facilities are a necessity and important opportunity. So now that we know why Asia and what opportunities are available, how can we access these opportunities? Well, this can be divided into several aspects. The first aspect, if you have a product or a medicine or a medical device that you wish to access the Asian markets, we can see here, spanning from Australia, China, Japan, South Korea to Taiwan, that changes in regulatory processes are currently underway to make them more streamlined and to handle new modalities and new medical devices that may not fit into traditional brackets. In addition, there is increasing demand for evidence and innovative data to support reimbursement. Considering that in Japan, in Taiwan, and to a lesser extent China and South Korea, they all have a single payer market and national health insurance, this is quite important. So pharmacoeconomics and how to measure the effectiveness of pharmaceuticals in a cost-effective way will be a very important part for your products to access the Asian market. Cost-effectiveness is the key word. However, if you are a manufacturer or supplier seeking to access the Asian biotech pharma value chain, this is what you should have in mind. Basically, the pharmaceutical development process involves discovery, which features basic and translational research, product development, manufacture of said products, and then the continued improvement and advancement of these products. So at each of these stages, there are now new and growing companies in Asia that are seeking to take on and put together what is already quite mature in the European and the North American markets. So basically, at every stage of this process, there are quite important niches where you can provide technical support or services to Asian companies seeking to build their capabilities in these areas, or you can bring your services or facilities or know-how directly to set up as part of a niche in the Asian biotech pharma value chain. In addition, unlike the large pharmaceutical companies in North America and Europe, Asia mostly features small to medium enterprises, so innovative, nimble biotech companies or small pharmaceutical companies are the norm. To be able to interact with these companies, you will need to provide innovative, tailored solutions to them, and they may have a lot of varied requests, unlike the large pharmaceutical companies of North America and Europe. So it's important to be able to have a nimble strategy to be able to cater to these new needs and to build up basically a new Asian value chain from scratch. Finally, of course, to be able to quickly understand the situation in Asia and meet with many potential partners across the board, conventions and exhibitions are a very important way. And there are many opportunities at BioAsia Taiwan 2022 for you to do this. So I will not go into the details here, and I will prepare to turn the time over to Dr. Wallace Lin to tell you more about the opportunities at BioAsia Taiwan. So thank you very much, and let us welcome Dr. Wallace Lin.